Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whoever and whenever you're watching from. I salute you. Thank you for the support, thank you for the love, and thank you for coming with me. So as we start from where we ended, still we are on chapter 4, protection and promotion of fundamental and other human rights. Then we stopped at 40, economic rights, because 39 was right to clean and healthy environment. So 40 is the economic rights. So here on economic rights, so A of 40 is Parliament shall enact laws to provide for the rights of persons to work under satisfactory, safe and healthy conditions. Parliament egenda teekawo amateeka abantu okukolera mu mbeera ebasanyusa, mu mbeera eri normal, mu mbeera etalumya bulamu bwabwe. So like if you're working in a disastrous conditions or like chemicals, you must have protective like gloves, masks. So those are the economic rights every Ugandan or every worker or every person should be having according to the constitution. To ensure equal payment for equal work without discrimination. Buli omu emirimu gye bakola balina obeera nga basasulwa kyenkanye, oba buli omu asasulwa mu ngeri gye baba bakkiriziganyako according to the contract they sign. So ate teri discrimination like discrimination in races or regions or color, teri kwawukanyizibwamu nta ono simanyi muki, ono muteeso, ono muki. No. So that's what the constitution tells us. And to ensure that every worker is accorded rest and reasonable working hours and periods of holidays with pay, as well as remuneration for public holidays. So engeri gy'okukola kijjamu nti buli omu alina obeera ne off day, buli omu alina obeera ne vacation, like bw'omala okukola oba balina okuwaayo omwezi gumu owo mulemu. Buli omu alina kuba nga alina essaawa z'alina okukoleramu. Bw'omukkiriziganya nti buli lunaku olina okukola essaawa 8, essaawa 8 bwe zituuka oba olina okugenda waka. So reasonable working hours, holidays, and public holidays. Bwebeera Eid, bwebeera Christmas, bwebeera ki, that is what constitution ya Uganda kyetugamba. These things should be followed. Si omuntu kukosanga ndogoye like public holiday olina okukola, simanyi olina kukola essaawa 24 24 hours ng'okola, simanyi tolina kuwummulamu, simanyi. No, the constitution etugamba differently. Okay, every person in Uganda has the right to practice his or her profession and to carry on a lawful occupation, trade or business. Buli Munnayuganda akkirizibwa okukola oba okukola omulimu gwe yasomerera kuba gw'olinamu obukugu, okitegeere. Si okutwala ate oli dokita ne bakuforcing okukola ky'otalina okukola. Buli omu alina right okukola according to his or her profession. Buli omu alina okukola trade, buli omu alina okukkirizibwa okukola business, si nti basosola. So constitution etugamba nti tebalina kukola ki? Tebalina tusosola. Every worker has a right, buli mukozi alina right yo to perform or join a trade union of his or her choice for the promotion and protection of his or her economic and social interest. Buli omu akkirizibwa okujoininga ekibiina ky'ayagala like in terms of business and trade. Buli omu asobola nze kanjoininga abasuubuzi, agendako kuba ku mukono mbwagwe tolina joining abasuubuzi. No, every person has a right to join for their economic and social interests. Okay, gwe bw'oba oyagala kujoininga lwa social interest oba kukola magoba oba making a business, everyone has a right to do so. Okay, everyone has a right to collect a bargaining and representation. Buli omu alina okukola okulamuza. Buli omu alina okulamuza buli kimu ky'aba ayagala okukola. Okay, to withdraw his or her labor according to the law. Yeah, bw'oba ogambye nti nze kati maze teri muntu alina okukaka. Oba omaze oba omaze. That's it. That's what the Constitution says. Then part 4 of this article, the employer of every woman worker shall accord her protection during pregnancy and after birth in accordance with the law. Buli omu ng'alina omukazi omukozi, olina omukozi nga mukazi. Olina omuwa like bw'aba alina olubuto olina omuprotecting nga tolina muwa mirimu gizitowa. Obudde butuuka obw'okuzaala olina omusindika ewaka n'azaala. So something like that. Olina obbangwizaamu. They call it maternity leave oba osobola omuwa maternity leave. So every worker, every female worker is entitled to that according to the law. Okay. That was the economic rights. So rights of access to information. Every citizen has a right to access to information in the possession of the state or any other organ or agency of the state, except where the release of the information is likely to prejudice the security or sovereignty of the state or interfere with the right to the privacy of any other person. Okay? Buli omu alina right ey'okufuna information ey'okufuna amawulire ku buli kimu ekigenda mu maaso mu ggwanga, unless nti amawulire g'ofuna si matuufu oba ogezaako okwonoona erinnya lya state, erinnya lya government. So that one is not supported. Amawulire g'olina ofuna oba okufulumya, it must be legit. That is what the Constitution is telling us. Parliament shall make laws prescribing the classes of information referred to in clause 1 of this article and the procedures of obtaining access to that information. Parliament egenda tuteerawo amateeka engeri gye tugenda ofunamu ago amawulire oba okufulumyamu amawulire oba ogatuukako. Kitegeera tetulina kufuna mawulire kuva buli wamu tugagendereko. Ennaku zino amawulire gangi kati abantu zi TV bazivaako amawulire bagafunira ku TikTok. Ate TikTok teri legit. So which makes everything. Someone can create a story and just puts on TikTok. Boom, it trends. Buli omu n'agenda ng'amanyi kituufu no. And according to what I know now, Parliament tenayisaawo etteeka nti TikTok, someone can take information from TikTok that is legit. So those were the rights to access to information. You have a right, but the information must be legit and from a trusted source. Okay, right to just fair treatment in administrative decisions. Any person appearing before any administrative official or body has a right to be treated justly and fairly and shall have a right to apply to a court of law in respect of any administrative decision taken against him. Okay. Buli omu buli wagenda kale katugambe ogenze ewa chairman LC1. Okay. N'atakuyisa bulungi, n'atakutreatinga fairly, you have a right to take him or her to courts of law. Buli administrative office gyogendamu, you have to be treated fairly and equally. If not, you have a right to go to the courts of law. Nobawaabira, and they should be answerable to that. Okay, 43. General limitations on fundamental and other human rights and freedoms. Limitations. In the enjoyment of the rights and freedoms prescribed in this chapter, no person shall prejudice the fundamental or other human rights and freedom of others or of the public interest. Okay. Amateeka waga rights, everyone has his own rights, okay? But tewagenda vaawo omuntu oba organization oba ki oba police oba egenda okunyigiriza oba otuula mu rights z'omuntu. Oba nkinyonyodde bulungi? Katugendere awo. So if it is interests of the public, of the society, toina linnyirira mu public society's interests or rights or any other person's rights. Okay. Public interest under this article shall not permit political persecution, detention without trial. Okay. political persecution, detention without trial. Unfortunately, this is kino kituukawo these days mostly, whereby abantu babatwala ne babawamba nga tebabatutte mu kooti ne babasiba kumala emyezi emeka, like okubaleeta mu kooti, that is a long time. And political persecution, okusanga nti gwe owagira omulala oli awagira mulala ate gwe gwowagira bakuwalana bakunoonya, like you are being persecuted. So the Constitution says public interest under this article shall not permit. Tetugenda Constitution tegenda bikiriza. Okay. Any limitation of the enjoyment of the rights and freedom prescribed by this chapter beyond what is acceptable and demonstrable, justifiable in a free and democratic society, or what is provided in this Constitution. Okay, buli teeka eriri mu Constitution, buli rights ziri mu Constitution, we must follow the rights or obey those rights. Okay, then 44, prohibition of derogation from particular human rights and freedoms. Notwithstanding anything in this Constitution, there shall be no derogation from enjoyment of the following rights and freedoms. Okay, freedom from torture or cruel, inhuman or degradation treatment or punishment. Okay. Constitution tegenda kukkiriza omuntu gwe babonyaabonya oba gwe batulugunya oba gwe bakola ebikolwa ebitakolwa muntu, okitegeera, oba okumudimiininga, okumuggyako ekitiibwa. Ekyo Constitution egamba tekikkirizibwa ate tetugenda kigenderako. Freedom from slavery or servitude. Omuntu okumuggyako eddembe lye ery'okwesalirawo tekigenda kukkirizibwa. Oli bakutwale bakukozese tebakusasula, like a slave. Nga slave mu Uganda kyeki, like a slave. Okay. The right to fair hearing. Teri agenda kuggyako freedom yo oba rights zo ez'okuwulibwa mu kooti. Bakukwata ng'okoze omusango, you have a right, you have a right to a fair hearing. Olina okutwala mu kooti n'owulikika, omulamuzi n'awulira ki ekikuvaamu. Ate twabisomyeko, like bakutwala mu kooti, what you should do. Tebalina kuwozesa nga witness wotaliiko, tebalina kuwozesa nga toleredde, ate balina okuwozesa mu budde, ate balina okuwozesa nga toli like you're not sick, you're not in any condition. Ate you must be provided for. Wobeera ne witness, government erina okuwa ssente z'omusasulira. All of that one twabirabyeko waggulu awo twabadde tubisoma waggulu awo. Okay, human rights and freedoms additional to other rights. Human rights and freedoms additional to other rights. The rights, duties, declaration, and guarantees relating to the fundamental and other human rights and freedoms specifically mentioned in this chapter shall not be regarded as excludingly others not specifically mentioned. Human rights and freedom during a state of emergency. Effects of laws enacted for a state of emergency. State of emergency. When something is emergent, when like the state needs something emergently, an act of parliament shall not be taken or contravene the rights and freedom granted in this chapter if that act authorizes the taking of measures that are reasonably justified for dealing with the state of emergency. Okay, like state of emergency, like NC where bayina kye yeetaaga, like if the government needs something, parliament egenda vaayo mbu simanyi, no, this is a state of emergency, it must be, actions must be taken. The provision of any enactment other than act of parliament dealing with the state of emergency declared under this constitution shall apply only to that part of Uganda where emergency exists. Yeah. Anything emergency over kale katugambe we have like a drought or like a flooding etusewo mu northern Uganda, a state of emergency shall not be applied in the whole country. Okay, only in northern Uganda there shall be a state of emergency, not the whole Uganda, if I'm getting this right. Without prejudice to clause 1 of this article, an act enacted in according with the clause may make provision for the detention of persons where necessary for the purpose of dealing with the emergency. Maybe state of emergency waba bagikozeewo nga bantu maybe like terrorists balumbye mall, Acacia Mall ne bagibalula. State of emergency jagenda awo ku Acacia Mall mu Kampala, not the whole of Uganda, and those people responsible shall be dealt with. I think that is how the effects of the law enacted for the state of emergency shall be applied according to the constitution, not my words. Si bigambo byange, bigambo biva mu constitution. Detention under emergency laws. Okay, detention under emergency laws. Where a person is restricted or detained under a law made for the purpose of the state emergency, the following provision shall apply. Omuntu yenna kale nga bamukutte or like he's under that period where the state is in emergency, naye sanga nga kale naye kimukwatiriddemu, gana amateeka gagenda mutuukako. He or she shall within 24 hours after the commencement of the restriction or detention be furnished with a statement in writing specifying the grounds upon which or she is restricted or detained. Kale katugambe bakukwatidde oba ekintu ekyo bwe kiweereddewo emergency weetuukidde ne bakwata within 24 hours olina okuwaayo written statement n'ogamba buli kimu ekibaddewo in writing. The spouse or next of kin of the other person named by the person restricted or detained shall be informed of the restriction or detention and allowed access to that person within 72 hours after the commencement of the restriction or detention. Kale katugambe nti gwe bakutte within essaawa 72 balina otegeeza b'enganda ze oba mukazi we oba baana be wawe bamukwatidde nawe waali by that moment, not more than 30 days after the commencement of his or her restriction or detention. A notification shall be published in the Gazette and in the media stating that he or she has been restricted or detained and given particulars of the provision of the law under which he or she, her restriction or detention is authorized and the grounds of his or her restriction or detention. Okay, munaku asatu, yeah, within 30 days. Munaku asatu. Kale emergency yonna, any emergency like I've told you, it can be floods or it can be a good example is COVID-19. It was a state of emergency, everything was shut down. COVID-19 bwe yajja buli kimu baakisibawo. So this is like what they are trying to say. So munaku nga asatu bajja kujja buli kimu bakiteeke mu mawulire, you know, nti tufunyeewo kino, enkuba tekyatonnya, biki, covid ekirwadde Ebola kituuseewo, so abantu bamwe wetukutte babano they are being detained, bali safe, bali bulungi within 30 days bateeke no mu mawulire. So that is what the constitution says about the state of emergency. Okay, then 48, review by the Ugandan Human Rights Commission. So Uganda Human Rights Commission yekyogera koki. The Uganda Human Rights Commission, I think Uganda Human Rights Commission ajukulira ye Wangadya, mchara gwe bayita Wangadya. The Uganda Human Rights Commission shall review the case of a person who is restricted or detained to whom Article 47 of this Constitution applies, not later than 21 days after the commencement of the restriction or detention, and after that at intervals of not more than 30 days. Ekitongole kya Uganda Human Rights Commission kino tuukirira omuntu oyo within 20 how many days? Okay, 20 days, right? Not more than 30 days. So this state of emergency basically like it's COVID-19. Let's take it like that. COVID-19 or Ebola. So excuse me. So within 20 days, the Human Rights Commission have to come and study the condition. A person who is restricted or detained shall be permitted and afforded every possible facility. Tugambe bakute n'ekirwadde ekya Ebola oba COVID-19, buli kimu baba balina okikutuusaako. Anything you want. Okay, to consult a lawyer of his or her choice or any group of persons who shall be permitted to make representations to the Uganda Human Rights Commission for the review of his or her case. Kale katugambe state of emergency si kirwadde kulinga musango okukola ki okutuukirira lawyer wo Human Rights Commission eba alina okukola ki okubaawo to make representations. Okay, yeah. Okay, to appear in person or by a lawyer of his or her choice at the hearing or review of his case. Or okwetuukirawo if the state of emergency is like something you did or you have planned an attack on a government or a president. So if you require a lawyer, you're supposed also you have a right to go in person. Sikusigala nga bakusibye lawyer wo nawoza nga toliiwo. Okay. Chapter 3 of this Article 48. On a review of the case, the Uganda Human Rights Commission may order the release of that person or uphold the grounds of the restriction or detention. Uganda Human Rights bwemala okugenda mu nsonga zo n'eziraba esobola osalawo ne bakuta oba n'osigala ki n'osigala ng'oli wansi w'amateeka like when you're still in detention or restriction. Okay, Article 49, report to Parliament. Then at 1, in every month in which there is a sitting of Parliament, the minister responsible shall make a report to Parliament in respect of, in every month in which there is a sitting of Parliament. Mu buli mwezi Parliament bwetuula, buli minister gwe kikwatako aba alina okureportinga in respect of the number of persons restricted or detained under the case of state emergency. Bantu bameka abali ki bebakutte. So this is the state where if this time, this period, like ekirwadde kya COVID bwe kyaliwo, I think the one who was making these numbers was the Minister of Health, Ruth Acheng. Yajanga n'agamba how many are sick, how many have been released, how many are well, how many are, something like that. The act taken in compliance with the findings of the Uganda Human Rights Commission. Minister gwe kikwatako alina okujja n'atuwulira Human Rights Commission eri kuki sazeewo ki, what is going on. Okay, Chapter 2 of Article 49. The minister responsible shall publish every month in the Gazette and in the media the number and the names and the address of the person restricted or detained. Minister gwe kikwatako katugambe if it is COVID, Ruth Acheng, Minister of Health, alina okujja mu mawulire n'agamba omuntu ono n'ono, abantu bano ne bano, ababeera wano ne wano, mu mawulire nga bwe baabikolanga buli omu yabirabanga. The number of cases revived by the Uganda Human Rights Commission. Cases meka, abantu bameka abakafa, abantu bameka abalwadde, something like that. The act taken in compliance with the finding of the Uganda Human Rights Commission. Minister gwe kikwatako alina okujja n'atugamba Human Rights Commission ekozeewo ki, oba ki ekyetaagisibwa okukolebwa. Okay. Then Chapter 3 of Article 49. For the avoidance of doubt, It is declared that at the end of the emergency declared under this Constitution, any person in or under restriction, detention, or custody as a result of declaration of emergency shall be released immediately unless charged with criminal offense in a court of law. Kale katugambe nti state of emergency weddewo, if it is webeera ya covid abalwadde bonna oba like mwena abawonye baba balina okubatta. If it's something else, like if it's like terrorism or bombing, tebajja kukuta unless nga court tesazeewo or you were a part of it or no. Okay, enforcement of the rights and freedom by court. That is chapter 50. Okay, enforcement of rights and freedoms by court. Any person who claims that a fundamental and other rights of freedom guaranteed under this Constitution have been infringed or threatened is entitled to apply a competitive court to redress, which may include compensation. Buli bwovaayo katugamba oli mukazi nga bwe twalabye like rights of women they were violated, you're supposed to go to court. Bwogenda mu kooti, court esobola kufunira compensation. Oba gwewabidde ne bamusiba oba oba oyagala like to compensate you in any means, they can compensate you. If the rights if rights ezogeddwawo wano mu Constitution they are violated, you have a right. You have a right to be compensated. Okay. Any person or organization may bring an action against the violation of another person or group's human rights. Buli omu osobola okujja buli kale katugambe bw'olaba slavery is taking place ewanaibawo waliyo kadaamu oba house girl bamubonyaabonya tebamuwa mmere babeera bamukuba, you are responsible to go and report it to the police. Nogamba nina neighbor naye I always see this and this happening, this and this, so she needs help. So everyone has that right to do so. Any person aggrieved by any decision of the court may appeal to the appropriate court. Bwe bakuwaabira nga gwokoze omusango olina okugenda kweyo kooti, not violating the Constitution. Parliament shall make laws for the enforcement of the rights and freedoms under this chapter. Parliament egenda teekawo amateeka in case abagamenya and their punishments. Okay, Uganda Human Rights Commission, chapter 51. Uganda Human Rights Commission. Gawa twabagambye akulira Uganda Human Rights Commission now is Mariam Wangadya. Yeah. Mukazi mugende musearchingako mulabe. There shall be a commission called the Uganda Human Rights Commission. Okay. The commission shall be composed of a chairperson and not less than 3 other persons and appointed by the president with the approval of parliament. So, eno Human Rights Commission ejja kuba ekulibwa chairperson n'abalala 3 who are appointed by the president then approved by the parliament. President ajja kuvaayo akome kati gwe kusiima Derek gwe chairperson of Human Rights Commission. Negamba kati gwe Abraham gwe deputy. List negisindika mu parliament kati fe ba member ba parliament ne tuba approvinga. Yeah. That is what the Constitution says. The chairperson of the commission shall be the judge of the High Court or a person qualified to hold that office. Okay. Chairperson yagenda okubeera nga judge wa High Court. The chairperson of the commission shall be a judge of the High Court or a person qualified to hold that office. I know better judge, you know better qualified, not any other person. They cannot just go and pick any person. Sorry, Derek, you are not qualified. Okay. The chairperson and members of the commission shall be persons of high moral character and proven integrity and shall serve for a period of 6 years and be eligible for reappointment. omuntu gwe president gwalina okusongamu n'agamba kati gwe onoogenda mu Human Rights Commission alina okubeera nga wampisa morals like has good morals ate nga alina obwongo nga bukola nga mugezi, then alina okusavinga ekiseera ky'emyaka 6 then and be ready to be appointed, either bakuappointing oba taamu yeegweyo baleete omulala. So that was Article 51. Then Article 52, functions of the Human Rights Commission. Human Rights Commission tukolera ki, ejja tuyamba kife nga Abannayuganda. Okay, so I think tomorrow we shall start from here on the functions of the Human Rights Commission. I have to do something else. Thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow. Love you. Bye.